Apparently, just the vibes of Nazem Kadri being back on the team solve a number of the Avs' problems. Avs win over the Dallas Stars 5-4 in the shootout, in what has to be one of the most eventful regular season days ever in Avalanche history. That was a crazy hockey game. The madness of Kadri being acquired right at the buzzer of the trade deadline was already enough excitement for the day. But then the Avs go play a really messy hockey game that they're able to figure it out. And in a lot of ways, they are able to solve this game backwards as to what you would normally expect out of the Avs. For a significant portion of this game, the Avs were frankly no good at 5-on-5. Obviously, that's not normal, and it's nothing to really worry about long term, but within this game, particularly in the own zone, the Avs were bad. Where the Avs were great is the power play, and that gets them on the board first early. Cale Makar scoring on the power play against Jake Oettinger. Interesting. Apparently he can do that. Very fun to watch, very well put together power play, and really nice to see the Avs maybe get that monkey off their back against a team like Dallas, particularly Cale against Oettinger. While this did set the Avs up for success, the rest of the first period was going to be painful. A few minutes later, a power play back the other way evens the score. Somewhat similar to their own goal, the Avs PKing on Dallas here, and they get caught a little bit deep in their zone. You do have to respect the puck carrier, but Parker Kelly's supposed to be the high forward here and has just essentially abandoned post, which leaves a good amount of room for Nichushkin to work with. Nowhere near what Makar gets to step into on the previous goal, and this is decently defended. You have guys marked up pretty well. It's just you put yourself in front of your own goalie and there's a screen and then it bounces off to Devon Toews. Oops, nothing's perfect here. Sometimes weird pucks bounce and go in. You live with it. Well, I understand that's a funny deflection and a goal that I'm absolutely willing to chalk up to a bit of silliness. The Avs penalty kill continues to trend in the wrong direction. It's something that they've got to start locking down better. The Avs power play is finally starting to turn the corner. You don't want it to be meaningless because your PK is bad now. Part of that conversation is discipline. The Avs took 4 penalties in this one of them a too many men, one of them coming from Josh Manson again. You have to clean it up. They had that nice game the other day where they only take 1 penalty, but that is the odd one out. Post-Olympic break, they continually take too many. Thankfully, that was the only one Dallas scored on, so it's not that bad, but still, clean it up. Unfortunately, the Avs just kind of fall apart at 5-on-5 through the rest of the first, and particularly their depth struggles. Now, to be fair, their depth is in a tough spot in this game. Victor Olofsson no longer in the lineup because he was part of the Kadri trade. Nick Waugh in the lineup, but playing his first game for the Avs, so you expect some adjustment time there. You have to just manage things, and you're trying to play a game where your third and fourth lines don't hurt you. Unfortunately, that's exactly what they do. Avs fourth line chasing badly in their own zone. They've already failed to clear it once or twice and are just stuck behind the play pretty consistently here. You see the puck go into the corner here and the Avs kind of chase it and Bardakov gets stuck. Half in, not willing to commit to the puck battle, and half out. Not really defending anything as he twirls up into the circle. As the Avs lose that puck battle, he's no real urgency here to get his head back around and recognize what's going on. So by the time he does turn and recognize the guy that's supposed to be his man is cutting through the middle of the ice, he's put himself in an awkward spot. He tries to adjust, but just kind of flails as Wyatt Johnson gets to a nice spot, and that's a guy who murders the Avs. That's a great shot. I think that play right there sums up why Zakhar Bardakov is not going to be in the Avs lineup come playoff time. The Avs are trying to win a Stanley Cup in the next 3 months. They don't have time to wait for that development. I also don't want to harp on him too much because there were a lot of dudes that were just downright awful for the Avs in their own zone, including their entire D-corps, and also including Mackenzie Blackwood, who is directly at fault for everything on Dallas's third goal. Very little to break down on this play. Dallas is ultimately going to dump this puck in. Blackwood goes back behind his net to settle it. Toews is coming in, expecting him to settle it. Nothing weird about this play at all. There's no rush. They have time. And instead of Toews saying something to Blackwood, or Blackwood looking at his surroundings at all, Blackwood just fires this puck right into Toews' legs. No, don't do that. Bad. From that situation, Blackwood completely panics for no apparent reason on a shot that wasn't even going on net. This panic causes him to lose his stick, completely lose control of himself in his own crease, and the puck coming across to another star means Blackwood has no chance to recover. Yikes. Look, is some of that on Devon Taves? He needs to be communicating he's coming in to collect that puck from Blackwood. Yeah, for sure. But also, Blackwood needs to use his eyeballs. He needs to look up and see Taves coming. He needs to recognize what is happening around him and not just blindly shoot a puck up the boards. Blackwood has not been a very good puck manager all season outside of the crease, and at this point, you might as well chain him to the posts. Do not leave that crease area anymore, Blackwood, because you're not helping your team. So you've turned what was a good start into a very bad period, and you're still able to keep it close again, thanks to the power play. This is weird. 13 seconds left in the period. The Avs get a power play. I will say, Avs were fantastic in the offensive zone face-off dot today. They did a great job there. They get a setup off of this one. Nichushkin down to MacKinnon from a tough angle. MacKinnon ultimately more of a slip pass because it was a tough pass to take through to the middle there. But they reset, they reloaded again, and a better pass from Nichushkin allows MacKinnon to get the shot off. A shooting power play is a good power play. You will finish some when you do shoot. These are the types of goals that I think the Avs power play has struggled to score. Not the last second craziness, but plays that aren't necessarily the highest danger have virtually not gone in at all this season for the Avalanche. Some of that is on a play like this. The Avs are willing to shoot the puck. Nathan MacKinnon just firing away until one eventually goes in. But I also think some of that is just normal variance. The Avs have gotten pretty unlucky over a long stretch of this year with their power play. Some of that definitely deserved. I'm not trying to argue that. But if pucks like that start going in a little bit more consistently for Colorado, their power play is going to get fixed in a hurry. Also, Marty Necas is the best player in the NHL post-Olympic break, but we'll get to that in a second. Dallas playing with a lead is certainly a tough nut to crack, so it's important that the Avs kept it within one at the end of the first. Unfortunately, early in the second, the defensive issues just continued. Dallas dumping a puck through the neutral zone. There's a puck battle there involving Brent Burns, and Burns ultimately loses this battle. I don't mind the step up. I don't mind this play from Brent Burns, and Brent Burns even has a decent excuse here. I don't think it should count as an excuse, but I did just want to show you this. As the puck is going up the ice, Brent Burns is going to take a cross-check right to the numbers that goes uncalled. You do need a better job from the refs because that does have a pretty significant impact on this play. You probably would like a call there. Again, no excuse. Brent Burns has to find a way to get back up and get himself back in this play. I'm sure it didn't feel good, but you go down to the ice, you get back up, and you go play defense. Now, far from the only issue in this play, this puck has to be played effectively by Josh Manson. He's coming in to play it, and then he bails out to try and play the physical game and just loses the physical battle. Gets out-muscled, outworked, and now you're in chaos. You probably wanted a better job from the Avs forwards, someone taking the net front area, but ultimately they're expecting Brent Burns to be back and doing that. But Burns is nowhere in this play. And yes, he did get knocked down. Yes, there was that cross-check in the neutral zone. The man, if this is his top speed, you're in big trouble. He's coasting back into the play as Jamie Benn is finishing a puck net front because he's just nowhere in it. The Josh Manson-Brent Burns pairing was unplayable in this one again. We know they have ups and downs, and I know they'll get it back together, but when it looks like this, it's just rough. Manson clearly needs to use his strength to do a better job of controlling that puck behind the net. But Brent Burns cannot fall over in the neutral zone and just completely give up on this play. And there was a bigger problem across the course of this game for Brent Burns. The Avs came into this game on 2 days rest. You should be able to get refreshed and ready to go. And Brent Burns for most of this game looked like he was playing his third game in 3 days. He had absolutely no legs. People were regularly skating around him like he was not even there. There's definitely a bit of reason for concern that Brent Burns is going to look like that after 2 days of rest. Now, I am willing to say, hey, you had an off day, you move on to the next one, you can move forward and he'll be fine. I am sure he will play better than what he did in this game going forward. However, if we see these issues start to crop up more, you seriously need to consider at least giving him some rest games. You have Nick Blankenburg right there now. I know they bring different things to the lineup to some extent, but you need the good version of Brent Burns when the playoffs get here, so you cannot let it look like that, and you need to do what you have to do to fix it. That would be the last goal of the game for Dallas, and also the last goal of the game given up for Mackenzie Blackwood. Scott Wedgwood comes in from there, understandably. While some of those goals are not Blackwood's fault at all, You just can't give up 4 goals on 11 shots. You need to do better than that. Dallas is a team that likes to play from ahead and likes to completely clog up the game, and that's exactly what they would do from that point on. And while large portions of the Avs lineup was struggling, their best players were not. They get it back to within 1 again in the second period. A very smooth breakout and entry from the Avs here, with Gabe Landeskog being the puck carrier on that top line. Not the usual setup there. Landy is able to draw basically the entire Dallas team to him in the middle. It's a little bit sketchy, but he's able to get it to MacKinnon, who makes a nice read. I don't think we've seen enough of that from the Avs this year, where a puck gets into a little bit of danger and they step up and help the puck carrier. MacKinnon then takes that central area, and a really nice job by Nichushkin to take the space deep in the zone. You know MacKinnon's going to try and flick a puck through a stick, as he almost always does with these types of things. When they do get through, you got to be ready and in position for them. Nichushkin is, and then he finishes it beautifully too. Marty Necas now has 14 points in the 6 games post-Olympic break. That's the type of run that very few players in the NHL are even capable of. In tonight's game, he would be involved in literally every single goal that was scored, including scoring the shootout winner. And he's found a foothold that is not only making himself better, but is making everyone around him better. Now, I'm not delusional. I understand that Nathan MacKinnon is the better player on that line and on the Avalanche, but there are nights where maybe MacKinnon doesn't have it going just right, or things are a little bit off, and instead of that just being a problem for the Avalanche, Marty Necas has stepped up and filled that gap and either done it himself or helped get Nathan MacKinnon going again. MacKinnon, by the way, had 3 points in this game himself, not too shabby, but Necas is the guy that really has been doing it for the Avs post-Olympic break. I don't know that I'm ever a real believer in the idea of a regular season game having a playoff atmosphere. You can see intensity be higher and lower, maybe depending on matchups and situation, but I just don't think there's any real replacement for NHL playoffs. But if you want to call this one a playoff atmosphere, it has to give you confidence that Nichushkin is going to be able to perform in those areas, right? So that reduces the lead back to 1, and the Avs really have to grind this one out. Both teams take turns trading penalties in the third period. The Avs have a very bad situation that I mentioned earlier, where it ended up being like 20 seconds of 5-on-3 time for Dallas, but they're able to survive that. They also fail to score on other power play opportunities for themselves, which they go 2 for 5 on the night. You just cannot be upset with that, especially given the Avs power play 40% is the best it's been in a long time. And frankly, the Avs were probably supposed to lose this game. No one's going to sit here and tell you the Avs played well for the majority of this game. At least outside the power play, they certainly did not. But when the Avs are at their best this year, they're never out of the game. They keep working, they keep trying things, they keep finding opportunities, and more often than not this year, they've been able to crack their opponents. And it takes until the last 13 seconds of the game, but number 13 scores his 13th of the season to tie it. Crunch time, empty net, Avs dump in a puck, they're able to get to it, get it back to the near corner, and then Dallas gives them a weird amount of space here. I know it's a 6-on-5, but you would really expect someone to challenge Brock Nelson in the corner a little bit, try and seal the puck and just end this game. Nelson takes his time with the space, and when he finally is challenged, he's able to just do enough to get this to Nichushkin, who quickly, I know you can't see it in the corner, but finds the open guy. The Avs have done a better job of finding the open guy post-Olympic break. It's Nichushkin, not from the greatest spot ever, but with enough room to get a shot off, and when you put the perfect shot on net, sometimes you score. The Avs have desperately needed that second-line production at times this year. Your superstars are great, but sometimes they just need a little bit of help. Finally, Nichushkin is able to put one in the back of the net. It comes in a huge moment and a great time to see him get rewarded in a game where, frankly, he played very, very well. A massive goal for the Avs. They get 1 point out of this game, so worst case scenario, they are at least keeping pace with Dallas to fend them off at the top of the Central. And I'll be honest, I was content here. 1 point out of that game, the way that it played out, was enough for me. It was not enough for the Avs, though. Overtime was overtime, the typical modern 3-on-3. There were a couple of high-danger chances that had some nice saves on them, but not the super octane craziness that it used to be. We get through that, and frankly, a lot of teams against the Avs are content to play for the shootout, given how much they've struggled in that area this season. But this shootout was different. Can't show you the whole thing, because I'm pretty sure they will absolutely copyright me into oblivion if I do that, but there is a couple of unbelievable saves from Scott Wedgwood that you can see clips of here. Both of them A+ stuff from Wedgwood. And then both of the Avs shooters score with moves that frankly, at least in Nichushkin's case, I certainly have not seen him pull off before. With a shootout like that, it's baffling that the Avs are so good at losing them. But it ultimately gets them the second point in this game, and the Avs come away with a fantastic day. Again, no one's going to tell you the Avs played well for the majority of that game, but they did win, and finding ways to win is what you have to do, especially in the playoffs. You're not going to bring your A game every single day, and you still have to make it work. And, you know, adding Nazem Kadri to the lineup will probably help with that. Colorado moves to 7 points ahead of Dallas with a game in hand. Dallas has exactly 20 games left in their season. The Avs continue to be in the driver's seat. It's been a really fun year to be an Avalanche fan, and yesterday has to probably be the peak so far. That is the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching. I am Rudo, and Nas is back.